Hello and welcome to another edition of Comics and Pop. I'm one of your hosts, Jonathan Rosen, along with Carlos Hidaraga and Troy Cannon, and we are going to talk about the Venom 2 trailer.
I say either, you say either, I say neither, and I say neither, neither. Let's call the whole thing off. Ta-da! Catch up.
Excuse me?
Yummy.
Good evening, Eddie.
Hey, Mrs. Chen.
Good evening, Venom.
Function hall, Mrs. Chen.
He says hi.
One is the loneliest number that you'll ever do.
I've been thinking about you, Eddie.
Two can be as bad as one. It's the loneliest number.
Because you and I are the same. Every decision we ever make, who do we leave behind? And how do we leave them? Waiting in the darkness for the rescuer who never comes. Welcome back, Eddie Brock. It's been a long time. Miss you so much. Soon come chaos. Chaos soon come.
One is the loneliest number that you'll ever do.
The chocolate delivery hasn't arrived yet.
No!
We had a deal.
What's gonna happen? You gonna stop protecting me?
I am happy to eat, Mrs. Chen.
No, you cannot eat, Mrs. Chen.
What?
Nothing?
Something that caught my eye was, the trailer looks good. I got to admit, I'm not sure if I like the voice change because it sounded different. But something that did catch my eye, that one woman that was in the cage, her eye started to turn silver, and then they show her in a cage again and she's freaking out. I'm thinking she's going to be a hidden villain, unknown villain, somebody that they haven't actually said was going to be in it, but it's going to be, Poison or one of the other symbiotes probably, I'm thinking.
Well, everything I read today is that this is Shriek.
Okay.
That's what I read today. So I haven't discussed this with anyone yet, but Carlos, what are your thoughts here?
So, just talking, I'll go into Venom, my thoughts on Venom in a little bit, but just to discuss the trailer. It looks good. One of the things that I kind of caught and I read about today also, which kind of confirmed my thoughts, was that the detective, the guy who's playing the detective, kind of looks a little bit like Mark Wahlberg, but he's another actor. He's an English actor. I forgot his name, but that's Detective Mulligan, and I think that's right. Toxin. That's Toxin, which is one of Carnage's offspring. So I'm guessing they're introducing him in there also, which is one of another major character from that whole Venom line. But it looks good. It looks good. Well, but I'll talk about Venom a little bit later, I guess.
Well, here's the thing with Venom for me. Okay, I spoke about this a little bit before with Carlos, that I was never, the first movie to me was just okay. It says, I thought it was okay. I thought it was fun, just mindless entertainment. I think my son liked it a whole lot more than I did. But I didn't think it was like so great, but it does have its fans. So a sequel to me, I agree. Like Troy just said, that they're changing a little bit too. And the comics, Venom has gone through a big evolution. When Venom first started, he was not like this jokey character. He was just a regular stone cold killer. And now we're getting, the Marvel all through the years has kind of shifted his character a little bit, make him much more with a dark sense of humor.
Right. So I guess going back to what you and I had spoken about before we did the podcast, which we should have actually been recording. So I don't have to keep myself and stuff, I guess. But no, I mean, I don't like when I mean, I'm all for creative licensing, but when it comes to comic books, I'm very I take creative licensing personally because I don't like when they change origins, right? So Venom, I mean, in the comic books, Venom is a symbiote that attaches himself to Spider-Man, right? And he comes, that's how he comes here to Earth and stuff. And then once he leaves Spider-Man, he takes over Eddie Brock and he becomes Venom, right? So the fact that in the movie, because, I guess it wasn't a Marvel movie, they changed the origin in the original Venom of how how Eddie Brock became Venom, totally disassociating it from Spider-Man. To me, it's like, Venom you automatically associate with Spider-Man in the comics, being a comic book geek. So the fact that they changed that around, I did not like that. So the first time that I watched the movie, I seen the movie 2 times. The first time that I watched it at home. I watched it for like an hour, fell asleep. Next day, watched the other hour. So I was like, this is just okay. So then I'm like, you know what? Let me give it another chance. So I watched it again, and I watched the full movie, and I enjoyed it. I mean, I'm like, let me take my comic book prejudice geekiness out of it, and let me just enjoy it as a standalone film. And it was a good movie. It was, I actually watched it with a buddy of mine who's not a comic book guy, and he loved it. He thought it was great. He thought it was hilarious. He thought the whole, Venom character was crazy. That he was just start talking to him, and it was, and it was funny and it was enjoyable. So I enjoyed that part of it. But like I said, now that you're taking them to the second movie and you're introducing Carnage and Toxin and all these other characters that are all comic books, to me, now you bring back the comic book side of me. It's like, okay, you're introducing all these comic book characters and stuff, but I still have to go back to the first movie that you didn't really have the true origin of Venom, so that's kind of like, that's my major beef with it, I guess. But, since they are introducing Carnage, and this is Comics and Pop, first appearance of Carnage right here, baby. Boom, there you go. I bought this book for $30 like 3 years ago. Now they're going for like $600 to $1,000, man. Because of this movie. Unbelievable. What is it, Spider-Man 361?
Yeah.
That's my piece on Venom.
Well,
I like Venom. I thought he was a okay. Well, I like Carnage. I like Venom too, not the movie, but the character, because the character was, he was imposing to Spider-Man. He was somebody that could beat the brakes off of Spider-Man, and I think you tell how good a character is by how good their villain is. And this guy had all of the powers of Spider-Man, slightly stronger, and Spider-Man couldn't tell when he was walking up on him. And I was like, well, he's going to die fighting Venom. And then Carnage came, and Carnage was supposed to be a more lethal version of Venom. And Venom at this point, I think they were calling him the Lethal Protector. I think that was his name. Yeah. And, Carnage came, so I'm like, oh, wow. Because like you said, he evolved, and he eventually became like an anti-hero. Yep. And I'm like, well, okay, I liked him better when he was just a villain. But then they brought Carnage, so I'm like, all right, good, Carnage is here. But Carnage was, he was scattered, he wanted to just kill everybody. He didn't have any real purpose. He just wanted to slaughter people, which, is cool for an action flick, I guess. But I don't know how they're going to portray it in this movie. I'm thinking they're going to miss the mark, I think.
Well, let's see with that. I mean, we were talking. They're not going to go back. I mean, Venom first started in the Secret Wars. That was the first time we saw him in the Secret Wars. They weren't going to do that, but the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies did have a tie to Spider-Man. So right. They're trying to change it up now when they want Venom to have its own universe. Since I think I read that they did want to have a Spider-Man tie-in at some point. But now with the Spider-Man Association back with Marvel, Sony is going to wants their own Venom universe here. So that's trying to stay far away from Spider-Man as possible. But there was the
Right.
mention of Woody Harrelson in the movie. Clete Cassidy's character mentioned about the spider. The spider can't save you or something, or whatever it is. That was part of the trailer here, so they still give that little wink to the audience with this.
Right. I kind of like I was telling you before. I give it. I compare like the Venom kind of like to the Joker standalone movie that they did, right? But even in that, they still introduced. They still had like a young Bruce Wayne when we saw Bruce Wayne as a kid, right? So they still kind of like associated it with Batman, and the fact that they didn't associate Venom with Spider-Man at all, that was like a big turnoff to me. But like I said, the movie at the standalones itself, it was a good movie, and I mean. Venom, I mean, in the comic book world is huge. I mean, he's got he's got his own comic, obviously, and all the spin-offs, Carnage and Toxin, and and they actually just finished like a miniseries where they combined a crossover event that was called The King in Black, and the King in Black is like the original symbiote. He's like a god, and he came over to take over Earth, and that was huge. I mean, they can make a movie out of that and include all the Marvel universe and stuff like Avengers style, style of movie and stuff. But there's I mean, when it comes to Venom, they can do so many things. But I mean, you gotta go back to the roots, man. You gotta have he's he was one of Spider-Man's. It's like having a what do you call it? Green Goblin movie and having a Green Goblin stand alone by himself and not associating with with Spider-Man, or it's just
I kind of like the Green Goblin movie, actually.
I would love it, right? But I mean, you had Green Goblin is Spider-Man's first one of his major villains and stuff. So Venom basically is one of Spider-Man's a huge villain, and I guess the reason he became so big is because he kind of became like a hero, like an anti-hero, kind of like Punisher. Punisher started off as a villain, and now he kind of became like a hero as well. So, but I mean, I'm gonna definitely give. I think that the second movie, I'm gonna give it more. I'm gonna be going a little bit more open-minded than I did with the first movie. But I mean, the trailer looks good. I mean, I love Woody Harrelson, so I want to see how he how he uses his characters. He's got that crazy look and stuff. So I think Carnage is insane. Carnage is wild. So I like the fact that Woody Harrelson is going to be playing him. So I'm pretty excited about that.
I'm wondering if because Venom, I forgot the actor that plays Eddie Brock. I forget his name. He voices Venom.
Right.
So I'm wondering, is Woody Harrelson going to voice Carnage? Or are they
I
using
believe
someone
so. I thought he was.
That would be good because. Let me ask you this: did you notice when they put him down there to give him his lethal injection? When they put him down, instead of the stuff coming in, Venom was coming through it, going outwards.
Right.
Did you notice that?
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, when did he get the symbiote? He must have had the symbiote, but clearly he had him by then because they were about to kill him. Right. So I'm wondering, when does he get it?
Well, they got to show that they got it right. They got to show that part. It was Tom Hardy, by the way, who plays Venom. but yeah, I mean, they definitely have to show that. I mean, there were a lot of little. I was reading earlier about a lot of the little Easter eggs in there too. Besides Shriek, and I don't know too much about Shriek because I had stopped reading for a long time. So I know you guys might know a whole lot more about Shriek than I do. But I mean, they also mentioned the Daily Bugle in there, and I read one part that they showed that there was like a quick thing when Mulligan was reading the newspaper that there was a thing about like Avengers lose and to Nightmare, which is like possible in the Doctor Strange movie that they're saying that Nightmare might come up. So there were a lot of little Easter eggs in there. But yeah, I am curious about see how Woody Harrelson's going to do as well. They also showed the Ravencroft, Institute, so like
one of the Easter eggs that I caught also is when he walks into the store, to speak to the store owner, they have like a magazine rack, and one of the magazines is the kind of cover of Stan Lee.
Right. Yeah.
So suppose that's going to be like his cameo, I guess.
For this.
So he's in this one too. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what about the Ravencroft? What do you guys think about Ravencroft being part of it?
It's I posted this on Facebook. just today.
Yeah.
I had a debate that I wanted to start. I wanted to start a knife fight. So I went to this comic book section with these guys that are in there, and I posted Batman's Rogues Gallery
Right.
versus Spider-Man's Rogues Gallery. Who's got the best? Blood. It was a bloody mess. As soon as I posted that, Batman has the Arkham Asylum.
Right.
Spider-Man's got the Ravencroft, and they've got like, Sandman and what's his name, Clayface. They've got all of these characters, the Lizard, Killer Croc, that are mimicking each other. I see that as another mimic of the Batman thing. It's where Spider-Man's crazies are going to end up. So with that, like last week we talked about the Raft and all the possibilities of
Right.
future villains. With that, I'm wondering about the possibility of other villains. Who else is going to show up?
That's exactly
Right.
it. That's why I wanted to see what other villains are going to be appering, because
Right, but
that-
at the
that is
same- Exactly. At the same time, if you think of Ravencroft, you think of Spider-Man's villains, right?
Yes.
Spider-Man connection. But you know what's a good connection also? Tom Hardy's Venom, right? When you're comparing it, it's funny that you were saying, Troy, between Batman and Spider-Man, right? Between Arkham Asylum and Ravencroft. Tom Hardy was Bane in the Batman movies.
That's right.
And he's Venom, so he's actually played two Spider-Man. I mean, he played a villain for Spider-Man and a villain for Batman. So there you go.
Him, Captain America, and or Chris, Captain America, and who's the other one? Ryan Reynolds should all show up in Multiverse of Madness. Hilarious.
Well,
That would be good if they introduce Venom into the Multiverse of Madness. That would be a good way to bring him bring him together. Because I mean, Venom that's one of Spider-Man's. From the 90s to now, that's probably Spider-Man's greatest foe is Venom. Because of most of them are older from when we were growing up. The classic ones. But Venom is I would consider him one of the newer villains, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so I'm just curious, who did most of the people think had the better villains?
Spider-Man. Actually, I just
Really?
knew it was gonna be Batman. Yeah, I knew it was going to be Batman because everybody always says Batman.
Right.
But I think like 20 people said Spider-Man and like 4 people said Batman.
Okay.
Because the major argument was Batman's foes are specifically designed and created to fight Batman.
Right.
Spider-Man's foes, the Rhino, he fights the Hulk.
Right.
Dr. Octopus has fought the Hulk. All of his villains can fight other people. They can show up in other books. They're multifaceted. They can fight with anybody. But, Batman's guys, you're not going to see Superman versus the Penguin. That's not going to happen. He's going to beat the brakes off Penguin. So
Right.
Spider-Man's characters, they said, are more dangerous because they can actually fight more people. His Rogues Gallery is specific for him, but not exclusive. So that was the argument. And I never thought of it really that way, but I guess that's kind of right.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, I mean, Spider-Man's got superpowers, right? So he's not gonna fight like a regular dude off the street because he's 100 times stronger than him. So they got to give him kind of like stronger villains where Batman is just a regular dude with who can fight with a utility. Like right. It's like the people that Daredevil fights, right? Like the people that Daredevil fights Bullseye and stuff. Bullseye's not gonna fight Spider-Man. Spider-Man will freaking kill him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's definitely I can definitely understand where the Spider-Man villains would be more multifaceted as far as being able to take on more people. But to me personally, Batman's villains are more iconic, right? I mean, they're more recognizable. The Joker, the Riddler, the Penguin. I mean, these are American folklore type villains, right? Where
well, Joker's probably got to be we're getting away, but Joker's probably got to be the villain, the main villain of any hero. I mean, that's
right. Right, but I said, but like Troy's saying, Joker's just some crazy dude. He doesn't have any super strength or anything. He's a madman, right?
Right.
In the super, somebody with superpowers, you could just snap him in too. He's just some crazy guy, right? So I could definitely understand. I guess it depends on who you ask. Like if you ask older people, like I think older people would say probably Batman has the more iconic villains, but maybe like the younger people who are more into what's going on now will probably say Spider-Man. So I can see where you were getting your numbers from on
Yeah, it was interesting. I just knew automatically it was going to be Batman, but who knew?
Who knew, right?
What do you guys know about Shriek?
Well, is it just Shriek or is it Killer Shriek?
I don't know. I just read that she was set up, that scene in the trailer was setting her up to become Shriek, and that she was going to have like the Harley Quinn type role in this movie.
Okay. You see, when you initially said Shriek, in my mind, I'm thinking Killer Shriek with the ponytail thing on his head and the big blades on his forearms. And I'm thinking, okay, well, they must have changed the dude into a woman, and maybe that's where my mind went. So I'm thinking, I think Shriek had superpowers. I can't remember if he could fly on his own or if he flew with a device. I can't remember, but he was if it's him, then I think he'd be interesting. I think they could. Well,
it's a woman. It's her, she, right? Yeah,
she would be interesting if that's the direction they're going.
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, people are saying that, but it could be one of those things where it's like told somebody totally different. Who knows? Because I mean, obviously, like you said, Shriek is a dude, right? So
they also said they were setting it up possibly for like a whole symbiote war in this movie. That she walks out with someone else, not Cleet Cassidy, not Carnage. That she walks out with someone else in the trailer. So they said that they're possibly setting this up for a whole symbiote war down the line. That's one of the things that I read today.
Well, that's it. I mean, that's the way they go in the comics, right? I mean, with that's why Venom is so big and popular, because there's so many storylines and stuff. Like I was just telling you about the whole King in Black thing and stuff. So, I mean, there's so many things that they can do, but like I said, I just hope that they just that they tie it into Marvel, and bring in the actual Marvel heroes and the Marvel storylines and stuff, not just that they can tie it all in. That's what I'm hoping.
It would make it better. When I think about it, I'm thinking if they go with just a Carnage and a Venom universe, it's like, to me, it's like the mutant universe with X-Men. That you got a ton of X-Men, but so many of them tie into other people. Every time I saw Wolverine, I was thinking Hugh Jackman should be fighting the Hulk.
Right.
What's up with that? Every time I saw Rogue, I'm like, she's got to grab the female Captain Marvel and take her powers, man. They tied into so many other people that for me, I missed a lot of the movie, because it was, I didn't miss it as in like I didn't see it, but I missed it as in like, there's so many opportunities that they could have done other things with, but they can't open this door to lead to Marvel. But they had a ton of people. With the Carnage Venom movie, they've got fewer characters, but the same problem. And I'm thinking they got a lot of closed doors in that movie, because they've got like maybe, off the top of my head, I'm thinking like 4 or 5 good stories that they could make off of the whole symbiote thing. And 4 or 5 movies, I guess, if they make $1 billion a piece, then you're good. But if they want to make an entire universe, where are they going to go after that? Because they got nobody else. There's no other people besides the symbiotes that connect with the symbiotes. They can't use the Fantastic Four, because Reed Richards was the one that discovered the sound thing. They can't use Spider-Man. Maybe Flash Thompson, we got a symbiote. There maybe a couple other people, but you still are just with a dude with a symbiote. So, he doesn't have any actual villains that are specific to him that I think they could do, just in his universe that aren't Spider-Man villains or MCU villain. I think they're going to be limited.
Well, like you guys just said, I mean, that's one of the things that I did regret with all this. I mean, Marvel now has X-Men back and Fantastic Four back, but that's one of the things that we were cheated out of is Wolverine, the Hulk fight, Avengers, X-Men, fighting with each other there too, and now it's kind of sad that we're not, if Chris Evans is gone and Robert Downey Jr. is gone, we're not going to get Captain America and Iron Man as part of that when they finally do clash with the X-Men, because that Avengers X-Men thing will probably be coming down the line, and Hugh Jackman for that matter, he said he's not doing it again either. I'm sure, when people say never, you take it with a grain of salt in these movies, because you never know. But I would want to see that, and eventually, like we said, we do have to see Spider-Man tangling with Venom, tangling with Carnage. It's cheating the audience out of. I mean, eventually, I think Marvel's going to just outright buy Sony or buy it back, or Disney. I mean, is going to buy them. But we are cheated as an audience, as a comic book reader. We are cheated out of those classic matchups that we've read in the comics.
So I mean, if you think about it, like in the last podcast that we did, they pretty much laid out the movies that are coming out for like the next 3 years,
right.
Basically 3 years, right? And no mention of the X-Men.
No mention, right?
You know what I mean? So by the time that comes around and you bring that in, like I'm saying, a lot of these actors are going to be freaking 60 years old, So that's why they have to. You're right. I mean, we've been cheated out of a lot because of the fact that they didn't own the rights to the X-Men or the Fantastic Four. So that's where the whole we were talking about. When X-Men and Fantastic Four are introduced, it's got to be younger actors because this is going to be
keep them going for a while.
People are going to be around for a while, so they can keep it going for a while. Iron Man's been around. Robert Downey Jr. and Evans, they played Iron Man and Captain America for like 10 years now, a little bit over.
Downey Jr. is like close to 15 years, isn't it? When did
That's what I'm saying. Exactly, close to 15 years. Exactly. So it's going to be a lot of people that are younger people that are just coming up because they're going to be around hopefully for the next 10 15 years at least. So
when did they say, when's the next Deadpool coming out?
I haven't heard anything on that,
because they already mentioned they're going to be doing a Deadpool 3.
Yeah.
And that's where he wanted to bring Ryan Reynolds kept wanting to bring Hugh Jackman into it.
Yeah, absolutely.
To Deadpool and Wolverine.
Well, they always do all these funny things online, like they're between the two of them. They're always going back and forth and stuff. But but like I said, who knows when? If they're not going to introduce it for another 3-4 years and stuff, Hugh Jackman's going to be freaking 55 years old. I mean, the good thing about Wolverine is that you can have an older Wolverine, right? Because Wolverine's been around forever, right? But as long as he stays in shape, I guess. I mean, I don't know, man.
Here it is. I'm reading right now. Deadpool 3 won't begin filming until 2022 at the earliest.
Earliest. So that's 2024 basically.
Right.
Right? Because they film it. It's got to take a year to film, probably.
Oh, it takes a few months to film, but who knows? It'll probably be the following year that it would come out. But who knows if Hugh Jackman's going to do it or not?
Right.
That would be a good way to start bringing them together. I mean, I just want to see Deadpool as part of this universe as well.
They could possibly do a recast. Now they're not going to recast the Black Panther for respect for Chadwick passing,
right.
But the other characters could potentially maybe get recast. I mean, they could find somebody of a similar look on Black. Everything makes me think about something else. I watched the show Black Lightning, right?
Okay.
On the WCW.
Right.
Watch Black Lightning. And the girl, China Williams, she, for whatever reason, isn't playing her character anymore. So in order to replace the character, they said, okay, well, you got electric powers. You're going to go up there and you're in the upper hemisphere, you're using your powers, and you turn yourself into energy. We catch that energy, bring you back to Earth, and we put your body back together, but it didn't come back together exactly the same. And when she comes out of the thing, it's a different person. So they just replaced the actress, and they had a cool sci-fi superhero type way of doing it. They could maybe do that with a few of these different guys, possibly. With some of them,
I mean, look at War Machine, right?
Just
Right?
movie to movie, yeah. And the Hulk.
And the Hulk has been, 3 different guys, right?
Well, we're already on that third Spider-Man.
Right,
too.
exactly. And this is our third Spider-Man, right? So the good thing about these characters, look at Batman. How many Batmans have there?
Right.
What, 10 Batmans, right? So and Superman, right? So it's the same thing. So the good thing about these characters is that they're bigger than the actors, right? So and like the major characters have always been, like the Hulk, Captain America, what do you call it? Spider-Man, Superman, Batman, right? So basically, people are dying to play these actors. So finding someone is not going to be hard. I mean, obviously everyone's going to have their favorites, but the good thing about these characters is that they transcend time, right? So the bad thing about it is that we fall in love with the characters, right? But it's hard to imagine anybody else playing Wolverine than Hugh Jackman, because he's been Wolverine. It's hard to imagine anybody else playing Iron Man.
Well, that's the thing. There are certain ones that are just going to be, that just stand out to me. But eventually, I mean, they're not going to stop making Iron Man movies.
What I'm saying.
They're going to come back to
it. So the same thing to me with Superman. To me, Superman was Christopher Reeve, right? But that was the 80s. So you think about it, that's freaking, almost 40 years ago, right? So obviously they're gonna have somebody new. So so it's gonna be the same thing with these characters.
Well, I think eventually they're gonna do another Black Panther too. I the same thing. I can't see them letting that hero just not be. I know they're paying their respect now, but they gotta recast the role at some point. They're not going to just let that character get away. Made so much money.
Exactly.
Money's the bottom line for these comic book movies.
Exactly. What's the name? Christopher Reeve passed away, right?
Right. Yes.
That's true.
So I mean, that's the one good thing about these movies is that they're, like I said, the characters are more important than the actors. So I'm not, it's just that we get attached. So I guess, but as long as the movies are good, I think that, the actors are important. The casting is important, but the actual movie being good is more important to me than the actor.
Because we almost had Tom Cruise as Iron Man.
I heard that. Yes.
And we almost had Nicolas Cage as Superman.
Yeah.
You
guys the videos. You guys see the video.
Yes.
He had long hair and stuff. It was crazy.
I love me some Nicolas Cage, but I'm happy that they did not cast him as Superman.
Oh my God. Yeah, they were gonna do a whole Justice League. They had like a whole Justice League planned out. I forgot who the other actors were. They had, I think it was Armie Hammer as Green Lantern.
Oh yeah.
I forgot. I gotta look up sometime. They had a whole cast of. They had them all cast and they were gonna do it, but they never went through with it.
And I see how far we've gotten away from Venom.
Well, Venom is just meh. That's why Venom's just all right. We started off Venom. We this is one of those podcasts where we're gonna trick our viewers. It's one of those things and stuff. We're gonna talk about Venom, sure.
Speaking of Venom, is he eating 2 people in this movie? Because he's sneaking up behind that one cop. He's like sideways, going to bite his head. And the guy he catches in the alley, he holds him up, and I'm like, he's going to eat that dude.
Well, the cop that he's going to bite, that's
Mulligan,
Detective Mulligan. That's Toxin. That's the guy that becomes Toxin.
Well, I like that part at the end with the I'm going to eat Mrs. Chen and what?
Yeah. Exactly. It was funny. Like that whole part of him speaking to him and stuff. That was really funny. That I enjoyed.
So I'm definitely interested in seeing it. I thought the first movie was okay, but this one does look like a lot more fun than the first movie, to me at least. And are you going to go see it in the theater? And I'd like to go see it in the theater, because it said that it's going to be theaters only at first.
From what I hear, it's going to be theaters only. So yeah, I'm excited, man. We haven't been to a movie in over a year, man. I'm excited to get back to the movies.
Yeah,
man.
I have not been either.
I'm going to the movies. It's not the same, especially like Marvel movies, like all the Marvel movies up until the pandemic. I've always seen them in the theater. Every single one. I mean, either opening weekend or the week after, whatever. Usually like I would try to go like opening weekend. We'll get tickets. I have a couple of friends that we go and we try to get tickets, in advance and stuff for like opening night or the night of the weekend of and stuff. It's exciting, man. It's exciting.
It's when you make that phone call to the boss and you're like, I got a bad case of Endgame.
see, I was always good with going in like on a Tuesday night at like 7:00 where it wasn't so crowded, or like 9:00. So I let them rush go see it on the weekend, and then I'd go right after.
The worst mistake that I ever made was watching Endgame on the night that it came out, like at midnight, because that movie was like 4 hours long.
Right, exactly.
So we didn't get out of the theater like 3:00 in the morning. I was dying, but it was so good. The movie was so fantastic that you just, like I said, these movies, like these movies, the Marvel movies have been so good that I didn't really care about what time it was on. I was just, if I go to any other movie that's not a Marvel movie in the movie theater at 12:00 at night, at 12:30, passed out. I would be sleeping. I'll fall asleep in a movie, But these movies are so good. I want to see. I think I'm gonna try and watch. What do you call it? The Black Widow in the movie theater. I want to see if I'm gonna, because movie theaters are open and stuff. It's just, it's not the same and stuff, but I think I want to try to see if I could catch Black Widow because I haven't been to a movie in a long time.
Thinking about Endgame. As soon as I thought Endgame, I'm thinking about my daughter. My daughter, I know I raised her wrong. She's not a comic book person, but we went and saw it. Right? It's me and her family. She's married now. Me and her family went to see it, and we're sitting there and we're watching it. And when Captain America picks up Thor's hammer, everybody in the audience jumped. I swear I jumped right through the roof with a bolt of lightning, and my daughter jumped. She's like, "What happened?" And she didn't get it. That's when I knew I had failed as a father.
Well, my youngest likes DC more than Marvel, I believe. So that's also another failure on my part. She loves the Flash, so the TV series. She did, yeah. But and that's another one. Tom Cavanaugh has played the same character. I don't know if you guys were watching the Flash. He's played the same character, different versions of the same character, like around 6 times now. Whatever it is.
Right.
Yeah, that's funny.
But
I like that show too.
Which one?
The Flash. I like that one.
That is good. We're gonna have to discuss that one time. We're gonna have to discuss the CW line of superhero shows one episode.
Yeah.
But anyway,
I liked Arrow the first few seasons.
They had some good ones. They had some that Crisis on Infinite Earths last year, which was pretty good. They had the whole crossover stuff, which was very good.
Yeah.
But we'll have to do it.
I didn't like Supergirl, but I did like Stargirl.
I didn't see that one.
I didn't watch either of those.
I did watch Supergirl. I watched Supergirl, but then I petered out like the 3rd season. I think I was just I don't remember.
Stargirl, they introduced the Justice Society, and I thought that was kind of cool. They're a part of the show, so I'm like,
and Legends of Tomorrow. That's anyway. So that concludes our Venom not themed episode. kind of Venom episode. Hope you enjoyed. Just drop us your thoughts, and you looking forward to it, or what your thoughts about the Venom franchise are. And until next week, this has been Comics and Pop. Thank you for listening.